Hello, everyone. It's me, Arden Lee, and happy election day. I don't know if it's going to be a happy election day, but happy election day nonetheless. In this video, I want to talk about how to handle election anxiety because there is so much that is happening in our world where our sense of power and our sense of powerlessness becomes distorted. So, first of all, before I get into today's topic, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you have not already, because here we are interested in figuring out ways to, very much like today's video, to really hone in on the things that we can control and work our focus in those areas to make our lives better. And that entails, creating our realities from a place of empowerment, hacking our beliefs and our thoughts to set ourselves up for success and happiness, despite the dumpster fire of a world that is going on around us. So I absolutely encourage you to check back and continue watching if you want to start making those changes in your life. And if there's a topic that you'd like to see me address that I have not yet, go ahead and leave me a comment, and I will check those, and I'd love to hear what you'd like to see from me. So without further ado, obviously we are currently living in a time of great political divide, great turmoil, and there are so many issues. There's so much hate that is going on, that is really affecting people's stress levels, affecting people's abilities to function. There are so many issues that are coming up for discussion in our collective now, where things are really being looked at, because there are so many insidious things within our culture, so much hate and so many toxic belief systems that are, I want to emphasize this. They're being fed, they're being fanned, but they're really being given permission to be voiced for the first time in a while. At least in a way that has been, at least in my lifetime, unprecedented up until this point. So the thing that I want to stress first of all is that it's not so much that things have changed that much. It's that things are now finally visible. And when the election 2 years ago happened, I remember watching a video posted on Facebook by a friend of mine. His name is Nazem Shan Shuva, and he used to be the front man for a band called Pui, and now he is really super into meditation and consciousness and communal living for artists. So he's a friend of mine, and he posted a video, and what I remember him saying that really comforted me in that moment is he said, if I'm sick, I would rather know my illness. I would rather receive that diagnosis and know what's wrong with my body so that I can treat it, so that I can understand it, and so that I can better deal with it. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the essence of the point that he made. And on that fateful night 2 years ago, I really took that to heart, and that was something that gave me comfort in a way that I wasn't anticipating, even in the wake of the shock of what the election 2 years ago was for me and for so many other people. So I want to emphasize right now that even though, yes, we're living in dangerous times that are dangerous for a lot of people, and those are not to be minimized. Those are not to be glossed over with love and light and everything's going to be okay. What I do want to emphasize is that these flames that are being fanned were already in American culture. And what's happening now is that things are coming up and they're being exposed. And the advantage to that is that we know it now, and we can start to fight it, and we can start to build better systems that actually support people, that we can start to build sustainable systems that allow us to coexist together peacefully, that allow us to shift from a sort of game theory, win-lose paradigm, which is what so much of conservatism is about. It's so much about If you have that job, then I don't have that job. If you have that money, then I don't have that money. It's coming out of a scarcity mindset, right? If I allow you in this country, then I'm not safe, right? Which by the way, those beliefs are bullshit in my opinion, but also not only are they bullshit, they lead to a ultimately those beliefs lead to destruction, right? Ultimately, if we feed those, then that timeline leads to to war, to strife, to trauma. Certainly, as we're seeing now, as we're certainly seeing. I don't even want to say we're seeing the beginning signs. We're seeing the middle. We are definitely seeing intermediate signs of all of that. But the positive thing to come out of that is that it's being exposed. There was something that Saul Williams said. Saul Williams is a poet, and I'm going to say that he's a philosopher too, in addition to being a poet. And I saw him speak live in New York in the early 2000s at the Bowery Poetry Club, and he read some of his poems. And at the time, he was talking about the Bush administration. And the Bush administration, especially if you were living in New York in the early 2000s, was also pretty scary. Not as scary as today is, but certainly there was a deep culture of fear post 9/11 in New York City. And what Saul Williams said to the crowd that night is he said, here's the way that I'm thinking of what's happening right now. I feel like our country and our culture is going through a detox. And when a body detoxes itself, then all the toxins come to the surface. And what that actually means is when you're on a detox, sometimes you can experience those like flu-like symptoms and even like breakouts, right? Because the toxins are coming to the surface. And he's like, if you take that metaphor of like having a breakout because of detox, he said, I literally think that Bush is, all puns intended, the white head that is coming to the surface to be popped out. What's unfortunate about that is that we really didn't know how deep it went. And I think that a lot of us felt that after the nihilism of the Bush and Blair years, that we were going to shift into something more sustainable. I know that a lot of people have mixed feelings about Obama, and I know I'm also getting political in this video, which, if that alienates people from me, whatever. The work here is too important for me to try to compromise the values that I see in our culture before us, just to appeal to mass people. So I'm just gonna go for it. I know a lot of people had mixed feelings about Obama, and certainly I'm not naive enough to say that he was perfect, or that he was like the savior or the solution. But certainly for a little while, it seemed like things were going and shifting into the right direction. And unfortunately, it seems that the purge that's happening now was actually way deeper than any of us thought or intended. We kind of thought that we could go along that, push things in that direction of more progressiveness, more equality, more more compassion, more hope, right? Hope. So, and unfortunately, our leadership, the pendulum swung back, and we really took a turn toward hate. The side of hate really galvanized itself. The side of fear, it's really even fear more than hate, because hate would be hate would be kind of a moot point if there wasn't that underlying fear. Why would you hate something if you weren't somehow afraid of it? Virgil, get off the table. Virgil, pardon me. Meow. I know, but you are not allowed on the table. Everyone, if you haven't met Virgil already, he's my assistant. Say hello. So essentially, unfortunately, it was not the case that we thought that we were, moving in that direction toward progress, and instead there was a backlash on that pendulum. The pendulum swung back in the other direction, and that side of fear and hate really galvanized itself and accumulated a lot of energy that made a lot of changes to our nation in a way that has been really scary to watch unfold. But again, I want to bring you back to that idea that it is better for us to know what is going on. It is better for us to know what is actually in the hearts of people there, so that, how do we address this? How do we fix it? How do we heal it? And the truth is that certainly voting is really important, you guys. I voted early. I voted already. So, I know that for me is what I have. I know for me that I've done my part. I know there are people out there who are canvassing. There are people who are getting involved in their local political organizations. And if that is something that calls to you, I absolutely advise you to follow your heart and to do that. Everyone can only do what their part is. Everyone can only do what, to play their one note, to sing their one part in the overall harmony of things. So when it feels overwhelming and it feels like there are so many things that are out of your control, I ask you, please focus on the things that are in your control. Focus on what you can do, and pull back from the responsibility of needing to look at that overall picture, right? So we know that there's a problem. We know our sickness now, right? We know that the body of this country has a disease, essentially, right? If we look at our country as a body, we've received our diagnosis, and the veil has been lifted. We are seeing America for what it really is. For some of us, perhaps, especially for me, who grew up in, Philadelphia, and then New York, on the East Coast, to a pretty progressive mom at the very least. Seeing everything that I've been seeing in the past 2-3 years has been kind of a shock even to me, and now that we see what that is and we realize what it is, our job now is to not get overwhelmed by all of the powerlessness that we feel against this behemoth of hatred, but rather to find those few things that we can focus on, that we can concentrate on, that are going to help shift us into the new paradigm. And what do I mean by the new paradigm? If conservatism, as I was saying, is essentially that win-lose game theory philosophy, right? Like what I was saying, if you get a tax break, then I don't. If you let it into this country, you're going to take the job that's supposed to be mine. If we keep going on that win-lose scenario, the planet is not going to, the planet will last, but we won't, right? As humanity, we're not going to be able to do that unless we come together in a spirit of cooperation. And we say, no, like everyone matters, and we're all here, and in a way that supports each other. I want to go back to something else I've spoken about before. There is a parable that was told by a rabbi about the difference between heaven and hell. And apparently, what he says is that in hell, everyone is sitting around at a table with all this delicious food in front of them, but all their utensils are 6 feet long, and so they can't scoop it up and feed themselves, and they're all sitting there being miserable, right? That kind of sounds a little bit like if you can't have it, if I can't have it, you can't have it, right? But in heaven, it's the same exact scenario. They're all sitting around a table with this delicious food in front of them, and all of their utensils are 6 feet long, but they're feeding each other. So essentially, the difference is we're shifting into this new paradigm of omni-consideration, which is a term that Daniel Schmachtenberger, who's given a lot of really beautiful talks on this subject, has in particular. I don't know if he's coined it or if he just uses it a lot, but that's where I learned it from. And this idea of omni-consideration being that we want to create a society where everyone's needs are considered, because if we keep battling ourselves, if we keep fighting and infighting within ourselves, even as a global population, not just as a country, but as a global population, then we're not going to be focusing on the things that we need to do to sustain the planet, right? And to sustain all of us. So essentially shifting into this large paradigm, well, that's a global shift that needs to be made, right? That's pretty intimidating. There's 8 billion people on the planet. What's my role in it, right? That's probably what everyone's thinking right now. Well, first of all, my role is to vote. I did that. And what can I do afterwards? What can I do after that to start assuaging my anxiety? Well, I like to help people feel better. One of the things that we're going to need to do in order to move into this paradigm to close all the open loops in this system so that we create something sustainable is to do the same thing within ourselves and within our hearts. And, maybe I'm not changing the world by coming on and making these videos, every week. Maybe, certainly that alone isn't going to help that paradigm shift, but maybe the things that I'm saying are going to help some people out there feel better. Maybe the work that I'm doing one-on-one with my clients is going to make some person feel more empowered and more motivated to get up and do their part too. So as I'm doing this work, I feel that my mission is to create that ripple effect, right? If I can help people to feel more motivated, more grounded and rooted in that second paradigm that we're shifting into of omni-consideration. If I can help more people to feel peace within their hearts, as David Jonathan Rostowski, who is the author of the Ascension Manual for Planet Earth, has said before, with peace comes bandwidth. When you experience that inner peace and you're no longer plagued by that stress and anxiety, and you can function even within the dumpster fire that our world is right now, even on today, election day, if you can still feel like, hey, this sucks, but I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do my part, I'm gonna play my one note. If everybody did that, you guys, we would be shifting so much faster. So my job in the world right now is to help people feel better, to bring them that inner peace, I can't bring it to them, but I can help them to find it for themselves. I can show them how to find it within themselves. And then that allows them the bandwidth to start contributing more to that shift, and hopefully that ripples out. It's like you guys, it's like we're all trying to start a wave in a stadium, right? And all of us, in order to start that wave to go all around the stadium, need to at some point stand up and raise our hands, But it's sort of like we're all looking around and none of us are standing up and raising our arms up in the air because we feel like the wave is not going to take, that it's too big. But if we all did it, then we would do it. So I'm doing my part in that wave. And I'm healing all of those things within myself that keep me from being able to step into that paradigm where I have the bandwidth to be kind to people, where I have the bandwidth to help people out, where I have the bandwidth to create a life that is sustainable for me and to pass that on and teach it to other people as well, so that more people have more of that bandwidth accessible to them, and ultimately that we cure that fear, that we cure that fear, that underlying fear, and we step more and more into love. And I don't think I'm going to be able to cure that deep fear that's in so many people that are causing them to act out of hate, because those people are in such a state of hate as it is that they probably won't listen to me, just by the way I talk, honestly, by the way I look, by the fact that I'm a woman, and a lot of other things, There's people who comment on my videos who would rather talk about what I look like than what I'm saying. People like that aren't going to listen to me, but there are going to be people who are going to listen to me, and then those people are going to talk to more people and more people and more people, and so on and so forth, and it just keeps going and it just keeps expanding outwards. So that's what I'm holding space for today. And once I cast my vote, I'm going like this. I already have cast my vote, so I'm already doing this. I'm already being like, all right, I did my part. That part's out of my hands. Now what else can I do? What else can I do to really help fix, to do my part in fixing the structure of our society? And I have decided that my role in that is to work on the level of the individual, to help people feel better, to help people feel happier and more hopeful about the future, in order to help them have that bandwidth and that motivation to go out and do more work and to create more of those paradigms by themselves, to stop lashing out even in their interim interactions with their friends and family members, to act from that place of groundedness and peace and love that is going to ripple out into the world and hopefully change things. So really, this is really the time to concentrate on what you can do and not to be overwhelmed by everything that you can't. And I officially give you permission to, release the things that you do feel powerless around. Really hone in on what you can do to make that change and do that thing. And then for the rest of it, just take care of yourself. So thank you guys. I know this is a tough day for so many people. I'm making this video before the actual day, so I have no idea what's happening or going on at this point in time. But if you're watching this now, just know that I care. And know that I want you to take care of yourself, and I also want you to come from that place of the kind of self-care that allows you to be motivated to go out and to change the way that you interact with the world. So thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, and yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed.